It's time for Dart Talk. Brought to you by thedartzone.com. Stay in the zone. Thedartzone.com is an official Cosmo distributor and Windy City Fabricators, America's premier fabricators of orthotics and prosthetics. And Redwood Darts, America's newest tungsten darts. Stand straight and tall and hit them all. Redwood Darts. And now, here are your hosts, Mystery Mark and Steve P.
Okay, welcome to Dart Talk.
Hey, welcome. How you doing?
Welcome to the land of many glitches. We're having some issues tonight. Some things are broken, we found out at the last minute. So if you're in the chat room not getting the show, post something, because I think I can fix it during the first break. Anyway, welcome to Dart Talk. Steve Ponce-Yellman with Mystery Mark. Dart Talk brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor, and all my teams are losing.
Yeah.
You can feel free.
It's early. It's early.
You know what? I mean, we'll do the show like we promise every Wednesday at 8:30 Central, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. But it's really hard when they're having the Stanley Cup final with my beloved Blackhawks playing during the show. I have an issue with that, as well as the Cubbies are
Seems
playing.
to happen a lot.
Cubbies are
every
also in. They're in Miami, so my teams are both in Florida. It wasn't even 60 today. Anyway, we got some news. We'll recap the results from the Darts Live World Stage 2 that was in Singapore. I think it was like 2 weekends ago. I finally got track of the results there. And also we'll have results later in the show from the Championship Darts Circuit event. Events 1 and 2 were held in Dayton.
Yep.
And I know you're dying to find out all about it. Disclaim away before I get us in trouble.
The views, opinions, rants, and rampages expressed on Dart Talk do not necessarily reflect individually or collectively those of our sponsors, co-sponsors, wannabe hosts, hearing-impaired critics, or those with a penchant for attitudinal dysfunction. We at Dart Talk strive to provide you, the listener, with an educational, entertaining, and fun-filled experience each and every week. If after the show you, the listener, find yourself feeling uneducated, unentertained, and or bored, we at Dart Talk consider that your own problem.
And we wish you luck with that. Little bit of a glitch. So I'm not sure if you're on the website whether or not you can see the show. Somebody posted in the chat room and let me know. It should work. In theory, the theory was perfectly sound, but we're kind of rushing at the last minute here. Thank you for your patience, and thanks for tuning in and joining us for this Wednesday. How was your weekend?
It was all right. Kind of a little busy, but it was fun. Nothing too exciting.
Yeah, I had an interesting. You know, it's funny. You know, in the biggest thing with darts in America, people starting something new is there's this trepidation. You know, when you're starting something new, I think the vast majority of people want things to work, but they're afraid. They're afraid something's going to go wrong. They're afraid.
That's understandable.
Well, we haven't done this before. Oh my gosh, is it going to work out? So, I drove down to Dayton all by my lonesome, got in at like, I don't know, midnight, 12:30, something like that. And the whole drive, I'm thinking, man, I hope this thing succeeds. The notion of having, a pro dart tour, when you really think about it, if you look at events like the Bullshooter, where they've actually, it's to the point now it's almost totally an amateur event. They've kind of chased away the pros. They've got like two, like AA and single A, like batteries. And then, there's less and less of these guys playing all the time. I mean, let's face it, tournament darters represent maybe like 2% of all the darters that play.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody, who was I talking to? I was talking to David Fathom for a long time. You keep picking him on our teams.
I know.
So I thought I'd kind of check his pulse, so to speak. off the top of his head, he said there were 150,000 dart players in America, and he was ballparking it. I don't know that he had demographics for that, but when you look at how many people go to tournaments, I mean, it's a very small percentage of 150,000.
Sure.
Right. So when you're looking at the top echelon of everything, obviously, top 2%, it's not many players, and you need the numbers to work out in the tournament organizer's favor. I mean, the tournaments that lose money go away. Right, so I was kind of wondering how this whole championship dart circuit deal would work out. They gave, I think, 60 tour cards out to people with the expectation that 48 tour card holders would show up for every event. And then they're going to fill the other 16, because it's a bracket of 64, with qualifiers. And top 64 are automatically in the money. So as a tour holder, a card holder, I'm automatically in the top 64, which was a good thing because I really
because that was it.
Well, I'll get to my misery a little bit later. So the concept.
Did 48 out of the 60 show up?
Well, no. As it turned out, some guys had to cancel. They had like some sudden family stuff come up, so they didn't. There were a few people that didn't show up, but the next one is right around the corner. I mean, the next one is like in Ypsilanti,
Michigan.
Yeah, Ypsilanti, Michigan. Ypsilanti is somewhere around Ann Arbor. Okay, I have that.
I've heard of it.
I have that on good authority.
I
have that on
good authority. I
know
it's in Michigan.
So we'll see. We'll see how many people can show up. I mean, it was such a great deal for the qualifiers. I mean, the qualifiers paid $50 and then had to play themselves into the main field, but based on the number of qualifiers and the number of tour card holders that canceled at the last minute, I think like 75% of the qualifiers got in to the main event.
Really?
So if it was $50 to get in and you're guaranteed to win $50,
that's well worth it.
It's free.
To throw a bunch of darts.
Well, it's free.
Did any of the qualifiers make it very far?
They went. I think the best they did was they went 2 rounds. I think in the main field. And it, whenever you start something new, I mean, there's going to be glitches, and I was actually happy that the talent in the room was pretty astounding. When you looked at, John Part was there. I had a chance to, chat with him a little bit. He's a world champion. A lot of I would say the vast majority of American internationals were there. I could only think of like 3 or 4 that weren't there. The guys that, play overseas and stuff like that. For the majority of them were there. It was an odd day on Saturday. I mean,
in what sense?
Well, for one, for the tour card holders, we had a lot of downtime because we were supposed to start at 2. The qualifiers, they were supposed to start one at 10 and one at 12, but then the one at 10 went a little long. And then based on the numbers, the second one was even shorter because so many people were going to get through.
Did they limit the amount of qualifiers, or?
No. Well,
it just
I don't know.
That shows up is
I don't know what
for 16 spots.
Well, everyone that showed up was fighting for 16 spots, but the way the numbers worked out, it was more than 16 spots available because they had to fill the tour card holder ones, and I think there were 5 of the tour card guys that were missing. So instead of 16, 23 people were getting through. So for the qualifiers, it was great. For the most part, they didn't really spend a dime. And they got to play long format 01 all weekend. And it was a pretty inexpensive tournament. I stayed at a Super 8 with 2 other guys. And for the entire weekend, it was like $45. It's the cheapest hotel I've ever had for a dart tournament. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, that's awesome.
$45 for the whole weekend or $45 a night?
My share for the whole weekend.
Oh, wow.
So what's 45 times 3? 135 for 2 nights. So it was like $60 a night, $65 a night on a weekend.
Yeah,
I mean, I've paid like more than that a night at some of these places. So the
hotel was all right.
Yeah, it was fine. I mean, there was it was in a really good location. It was about a mile from a Starbucks. It was across the street from a Tim Hortons. There was a bunch of kind of nightclubs and sports bars around the place. So because I had to watch the hockey, right, Saturday
Right.
night. That was the one thing that I really cared about. It was in a Moose Lodge. It was kind of nice. The Moose Lodge had like a outdoor patio with a roof in case it rained, and easy chairs, and like a separate bar area there. So all the smokers were kind of hanging out there. The venue had good lighting. The boards were fine. I wish they would have had more practice boards. Like when the pros, when the tour card holders were there were only 4 boards for us to practice on.
Mm-hmm.
And, me being so rusty, I was kind of in front of them, all morning. So it was kind of interesting. So did you get the results or no?
I got the second event results. I have not found the first event.
Okay,
results.
where are we on time? Can we take a break and find those results real quick?
Well,
and
yeah,
we'll
we
do
got
day
about
one.
5 more minutes.
Well, okay, but I mean,
We can
I'll
take
show
a
you.
break.
I'll show you where to find them.
So take a
Okay,
break.
we're going to take a quick break early so we can find the first day results, and then we'll go through day 1 of the Championship Darts Circuit. You're listening, event number 1. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mystery Mark Steve Poncello. We'll be right back. Keep those hockey updates coming in the chat room, please. Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed on Dart Talk are those of the hosts. They in no way should be misrepresented, misinterpreted, or made to claim that the universe is against you, your family, your city, or the darting community at large.
Okay, back for the second period of Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor.
You just sprung that we are live on me right there. Oh, by the way, we're live.
Well, I did, but because the music was, I didn't want that thing to start over again. Okay, so Saturday was the inaugural event of the Championship Darts Circuit, and I got to tell you, I was honored to be in a room with that much talent. I thought it was just great. And before we do the results, I'll just add that, even though they didn't have enough practice boards, I thought they could have used a few more. What was really cool was that I had time to talk to people. In most events, you're running off to this board, you're running off to that board, or so-and-so's running off to that board, and they're going up to their room in between matches and stuff. And at least here, everybody was kind of together in the same room.
Is that because it was just the same format the whole time, and there wasn't the next cricket match, whatever, and then doubles this, triples that?
I mean, everybody's getting ready for one event, and, nobody was, like, really all that stressed. I mean, some of the qualifiers look kind of stressed, but, for the most part, while the qualifiers were going on, I had a chance to, catch up with some guys, talk to some people that I don't see very often. And all in all, it made it like really good for me. I don't know what it was like to follow the event online, but it's going to get better. They announced something on Sunday that and I actually got an email about it today. I just glanced at it briefly, but they're going to incorporate Dart Connect in some way so that you'll be able to follow the matches, get statistics, and all
Dart
this
Connect?
stuff. It's a platform that allows you to stream match data online and get it all in one place. Like, they have their own server and stuff. He told me the name of the website. I forgot. I'll have to check it out. I talked to Callie West about it. She said, because I thought it was kind of an odd concept that you would sit in front of your laptop or on your phone or whatever and just stare at a score and watch the score change. It's better than nothing, but I mean, without pictures, it's kind of sort of like, wow. But Callie said she really liked it, and then you get all the statistics, and that's valuable. Having feedback is valuable. So they're kind of joining the tour, and I think also Cosmo was announced that they were like an associate sponsor or something like that. So they're already looking at next year, and I'm thinking that there were a couple of glitches, in Dayton, or actually we're in Miamisburg, but
right,
it was just south of Dayton. It'll run a little smoother next time, and I'm thinking this is going to be a big hit. I envision myself playing myself
There's
right
always
off
gonna
the
be
tour,
glitches, though, but
well, yeah, but I mean, for a first time proof of concept, I thought it went really well. They didn't stream it, in part, I think, because they didn't think that they were going to have a high-quality product to stream, and they chose not to bother publishing an inferior product, and I have no problem with that.
So you pretty much got the vibe from talking with everybody that pretty much the whole weekend there was a bunch of happy darters. Everybody was happy with the way not by how they played, but the tournament itself.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, it's kind of the one thing that as much talent as there was in the room, there's also a lot of egos too.
Sure.
And ego, you have to have an ego to be a good player. Some people don't come off as cocky, but internally they're cocky. Some people just, make snide remarks to somebody, and don't say it out loud. Some people say stuff out loud. I mean, people have different personalities and whatnot, but everybody, all the good players have an ego, right? And, you're going to have, I guess, call them flare-ups. You're going to have some flare-ups.
Sure, I can understand that.
How you handle them is really key. And the PDC has been pretty good at keeping their players in line when they step over the line. I don't know that anyone stepped over the line this weekend. I didn't see anyone step over the line. You hear things, and he said, she said. It's like whatever. when push comes to shove, it's you settle things on the board. And I can't remember if I was talking to David Fathom or somebody else, and he's like, look, you can be friends away from the hockey, but, once you're playing,
That's
you
what they
take
say on the football field.
You say it in every sport.
Yeah.
You can be friends off the field. On the field,
I'm going to try and kick your butt.
Yeah, and I'm going to enjoy doing it. And but then, some guys aren't as adept as others at recognizing the difference, and then, going along their merry way.
Yeah.
I mean, people hold grudges and stuff like that. So I mean, for the community of tour holders, card holders, this verbiage is getting hard. For the card holders community at large that were present in Miamisburg over the weekend, I thought everything went really, really well. And I got a chance to really sit down and talk in depth to a few people that I thought that was pretty cool. Roger Carter's got a lot of stories.
Okay.
He goes back a long way. And it was also kind of funny, because, guys are traveling together. You had like the Alabama clique and then the local Dayton clique, and, there was a little Columbus clique, and then, the kind of, I guess I would call them the Cosmo crew showed up, like John Part and Chris White and David Fathom. They showed up, and of course Darren's there, and then the Canadians are there. Dan Olson was there, Bob Sineve was there. I didn't see, it's too bad Terry Hayhurst didn't show up, but the level of darts was pretty solid, and I think as this event goes on, you're going to see higher scores from people. I didn't think, I know, John, they kept stats of the first final, and the winner averaged just under 100.
Oh, well, that's good.
And the runner-up average just over 90. And I'm like, okay, well, that 90 is a little deceptive, because if you don't get a whack and an out, you're going to end up with a higher average. But still, averaging 90 is not bad. I would have to say that's pretty good.
No, I think that's really good. When we've been talking about the fact that, you're looking at overseas and they're averaging 106, 100 because they play this format all the time, and, they're coming into this first time and averaging a final 190. I think that's really good.
Well, yeah. I mean, what you're really looking at is like maybe one dart out of 10, one dart out of 11 needs to be a triple, or one dart out of 9. You need one more extra triple in there, and then all other things being equal, that puts you in the mid 90s,
right?
And then
if you hit your outs,
high
percentage on your outs, then you're going to be up in the hundreds.
Your 9 dart average, your first 9 darts, your average needs to be above 100 if you really want to say I'm playing world class darts. If you go ton, that's okay too, right? Using my strategy of going like 26, 101, 60, that doesn't really equate to high quality scoring darts. We'll get to my
even
misery.
If you're 70% on your doubles.
Well, again, to take a minute about anybody wants to know about my game, I had a couple of people asking me about my health, which I thought was cool. I am pain-free. I got home pain-free. I have
After throwing a lot of darts, that's good.
Yeah, well, I didn't get very far in the events, but, the fact that I could play, and, I kind of was on the practice board for an hour or two every day, and I did play my matches. I was like, you know what? This is exactly how it should be. Starting over and then playing in an event that's never been played before, kind of thing. And I was like, wow, I'm a rookie. How awesome. So the doubles were there, and I just, couldn't score at all.
Yeah.
Couldn't score. Though I dropped a leg on my throw where I started out ton 40, and then I missed 5 straight darts at tops. Outside of that, my doubles were great.
The one time your doubles weren't good.
Yeah.
Ton 40.
I had 2. Before we get to the results, I'll give you the 2 best quotes of the weekend from the practice board. Number 1 was from this guy. I think he's from Akron. James Kinney, I think his name was. He said, you'll never find a box wine that's Chianti.
Okay.
He was making an argument for Italian wine, and that was his argument, which I thought was kind of funny. And then the other one was I was talking to Darren Young. Darren was one of about 7 or 8 guys that in the first hour I was there, they were complaining their backs hurt.
Really?
Yeah. And so I'm trying to help Darren out, and I'm like, look, I have this thing. It's better than icy hot for your back and stuff. I'm like, I got it in the trunk of the car. Come look at it. And he's like,
that sounds dangerous.
Well, he's like, so what? You're going to hit?
What
me
was
in
it?
the
A
head?
tire iron?
Well, he thought it was a baseball bat,
Yeah.
and he's like, well, you're going to hit me in the head with a baseball bat? And I'm like, hey,
yeah, your
man.
back won't hurt anymore.
I'm like, man, if I was going to do that, I'd have done it 5 years ago. and then he's like, yeah. You're from Chicago. You just swung and missed. And I about fell on the floor. I just thought that was so
That was
funny.
pretty funny.
Yeah. So those were the 2 quotes of the week. All right, let's get to the inaugural
All right.
event. Let's get to Saturday's event.
Saturday's event. We're going to do top 8.
We're going to do top 8. Okay, go through the matches one by one because I did watch a few of them.
Top 8 started with Bob Seneve and John Part, and John Part wins that 6-5 down to the wire.
Yeah, that was was that top 4 or top 8?
It's top 8.
Okay, that was top 8. That was Bob and John Part.
I believe that's what I just said. Yes.
Yeah, I saw
Were
John.
you not listening?
Yeah, I'm trying to. I can't read the brackets from here. I saw John play.
I'm reading the brackets, not you. You're supposed to be listening.
Yeah, I saw. Well, because I saw John play Gumby. I saw John play Ralph McCool in the round earlier, and Ralph had a whack at tops to beat him.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well,
And it didn't go in, and then John just proceeded to just rip up the triple 20. He threw one of the ugliest 1080s I've ever seen. John Part did.
okay.
They were all
going
over
different angles.
and all right over by the 555. And I was like, is that a 45 or a 40? And then
It's
they
a
mark up
180.
1080, and I'm like, wow. Come on, John. You're a world champion. If you hit it in the middle, I can see it from back here. So, no, it was pretty impressive watching John come back. And, there were a few of us back there, and we were cheering on Ralph. And, it was a kind of a quiet room, but John, being a professional, he's not going to, complain about it. He just gets about his business and narrows his focus maybe a little bit more and, reaches back and finds a 1080 and a couple of other triples, hits a double, wins the match, and pretty impressive.
I did you see the Part Seneve match at all? Obviously
no.
it went down to the wire, but
Yeah, it went down to the wire.
did Bob have a chance?
That I didn't see.
Okay.
I didn't see that. When I heard it was a really good match, I mean, there was kind of Darren was playing Gary, and it there was like some commotion or something that kind of stole the thunder from that match.
Darren beat Gary Moss in 6-3.
Darren beat Gary Moss in 6-3. Yeah, I was interested. I hadn't seen Gary in a while, so I was talking to Gary before the match, and I asked him how he prepared for something like this. I asked a couple of people this because I was kind of curious, how they went about preparing for an event that really we don't really have this sort of thing here. And he basically said, hey, I've been throwing for 20 years. I mean, I know how to throw a dart. I've just been working on the mental aspect of the game. And he was basically saying all the other stuff takes care of itself. And if you can get your mental approach correct, then, that's all he was worried about.
Sounds like good advice to me.
Yeah, it was an interesting. I didn't ask him, much detail. I didn't follow up with, well, so, what did you do? Doing yoga,
Right.
meditating.
Zen.
I mean, Zen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, I have one more quote
Is
from
Phil
the practice
Jackson
board.
giving you Zen books to read before you're...
Did you ever read his books?
No,
Do you have them?
I do not.
I didn't read them either. They probably would have been interesting. There's one more quote that I got, and I won't give you the source, but I was saying how I've been out for so long, and this guy's like basically like if you get drunk enough, you won't remember that you've been off that long.
Well, you won't
kinda
remember
like-
anything.
Well, I thought about it about an hour later, and I was like, he's probably right.
Yeah. So you're not thinking
You know.
about the fact that you haven't thrown darts and you're worried about where you're standing. And
Yeah,
you're
I mean, you
worried
get to
about
the
where
point
your
that you're
arm
not
angle
thinking
is.
about anything.
Yeah,
It's
you're just
probably
like,
good.
Oh, I'm looking at.
Yeah.
I see a triple 20. I'm going to try and hit it. Is
Yeah.
basically what he's getting at. Yeah.
So maybe I should have taken that approach. I don't know. I sure didn't.
Bring
play
a bottle
very
of Jaeger next time, or Jack with you.
They had really inexpensive bar drinks there, like you would not believe. They're like $2 Miller Lights and $1
it's a Moose
Bud
Lodge.
Lights or something.
Yeah,
and I was like, well, okay, this is way better than us all giving money to a hotel that, you know,
$6 a beer.
Still,
having to worry about sneaking them in and all that other stuff.
No, this was like
everybody's gonna be more than willing. Hey, a couple bucks for a beer, I'm in.
Yeah, from a financial standpoint, I think, you know, overall for the darters, this had to be win-win.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think the qualifiers had the best deal, right? I mean, a qualifier only had to qualify to get their money back. I had to win 3 rounds.
Yeah,
or 2.
Right.
I had to win 2 matches to get. You know, so I was like, qualify is the way to go.
Then you got David Fadum, who we talked about earlier. He beat Scott Buckley 6-5.
Yeah, that was a tight one, and it was good to see Scott. He's been ill. And I had no idea that he was even going to play. But for him to actually play and play well, because everybody knows Scott was, you know, a very fine player up until, you know, his illness a few years ago. And now that he's coming back and playing, and there was actually somebody else there that he had kind of brought along and had been coaching that played really well. I just thought that was like one of the feel-good stories of the weekend, was watching Scott Buckley come back and play well. That was good to see. But yeah, and you know, Phantom looked. He was in there pitching. You know, he was pitching. He had a good weekend. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure.
And then the last of the final 8, DJ Sayer beat Chris White 6-4.
6-4. Yeah, that was. I think Chris got ahead. Well, was it 4-3? I watched part of that match. DJ Sayer's been getting better results than he has. Everybody I talked to said, you know, he's kind of improved in the last 18 months. So it's, you know, it's good to see somebody having a good day, and apparently he continued it and ended up having a good weekend. I mean, right. I'm a little, you know, kind of like, you know, people that get to go, you know, a home tournament in Dayton. I mean, okay. I don't know. I mean, well, because one of the guys who literally, I had breakfast Sunday morning in Centerville, and one of the players, Timmy Nichols from Centerville, he didn't make it on time.
Really?
He sleeps in his own bed. He's 15 minutes away, and he didn't make it on time. And I'm like, dude, well, you had to check in by 1, and apparently, you know, he didn't.
Right.
So, stuff like that needs to get, I think, needs to get ironed out. You know, I think some warning letters, maybe people get some warning letters, something like that. It's probably in order. Did I tell you I forgot my shoes?
Yes, you just, you told me on the way here that you didn't forget them, you left them.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You didn't forget your shoes, like, to wear. You left them in the venue. And
I left them in the venue because, and here was the thing. You know, I left from the venue because you check out of the room Sunday morning, right? And then you go to the venue, so I didn't want to drive home in, you know, dart pants and a dart shirt, so I had prepared shorts and flip-flops, and I'd run in the bathroom and change, and at some point, you know, I said goodbye to a bunch of people.
Did you have your Bears socks with the flip-flops? It was cold this weekend.
No.
No?
It was nice. It was nice there pretty much temperature-wise. It rained rained on Sunday, and it rained a little Saturday afternoon,
Sunday
but it wasn't
was
bad.
chilly.
Okay, so what was the top 4?
So then you got DJ Sayer continues and beats David Fadum 6-3. To make the final.
Yeah, it was interesting. Fadum was one of the guys I asked about how he prepared, and it's kind of funny. He puts his darts down for months at a time, and he's basically like, well, you know, if I'm going to play somewhere, you know, I'll start practicing at home, then I'll go on the WDA, on the webcam darts, and, you know, throw some games, and, you know, once I get to where I'm throwing games around 100 average, I know I'm ready, and then I go in there, and I have that confidence that, you know, I was doing it on the WDA and stuff, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. I mean, I think he's kind of isolated. He's a firefighter living in Phoenix, and actually, he volunteered to come on the show and talk about sponsorship. We'll try to set that up for next week.
Okay. That would be cool.
Well, because he thinks there's some misconceptions among the general darting public about, you know, how you get sponsored and how come this guy's sponsored, that guy's not sponsored, and how much is he making, how much is this making. I mean, there's a lot of this that kind of goes along, and he was willing to kind of go on the record and straighten some of it out, which was totally fine with me. So we'll try to get him on next week.
Then you got John Part, after a couple tough matches, disposes of Darren Young in the semifinal 6-1.
Yeah, 6-1.
Kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, word around the campfire there was Darren was kind of out of gas. And that was basically all there was to it. And, John had it rolling pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And, talking to him before the whole event started, I mean, it was kind of funny. I mean, he basically said he was there to support the endeavor, but he was also, for him, he never moved. I asked him if he ever, moved to England. And he said, no, if I did, I'd have a bank account. He's got kids in Canada and stuff. So he has been commuting back and forth for, 15 or 20 years, going back and forth on this PDC thing. He must have a constitution of iron, because how many miles would that be?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. You got to admire a guy like that.
And then that leaves your final of John Part against DJ Sayer, and John Part. Not much of a problem there, 6'2".
No, not much of a problem. DJ, I think, averaged 90, 91, something like that, and Part averaged 98, something like that.
Well,
that's
good.
They posted stats for that match. If you go to, is it Champ Darts?
ChampDarts.com.
ChampDarts.com has, I believe, has the stats on that match. Or somebody posted them on Facebook, the Championship Darts Circuit.
Yeah, I didn't see it on their website, ChampDarts.com. I didn't see any stats. It would have to be on Facebook.
Well, I'll tell you, the stats are going to be more and more prevalent starting in the next event in Ypsilanti in a couple of weeks, because this Dart Connect thing is, they had it in Virginia Beach. They're running them on iPads, and you just punch in the numbers and stuff, and it works. It's pretty slick.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got a website that you can go to and then pick the match you want to watch, and you just watch the scores go. So you could follow people remotely. Look pretty slick. I have to try it out. I haven't really messed with it yet, though, but it looks pretty promising, I thought. Okay, let's take a break, and we'll talk about day 2, and we'll also get to those, I promised you, Darts Live results.
Hawks are still down 1-0. End of 2.
Killing me. Okay, we'll be back in a minute. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mystery Mark Steve Panasian.
treating fairly its prisoners in their war against Dart Talk agrees to adhere to the Geneva Convention in treating fairly its prisoners in their war against lackluster darting administration and behaviour.
Hey, back for the third period of Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official console distributor and out of the playoffs. So thanks in the chat room. Apparently, there was some double trouble in that Sineve John Part match, and Part missed a whole bunch of darts.
Watching world champ go 1 for 27 at doubles gives me hope.
1 for 27. Wow. I don't know even what to say about that. But again, we've said it before and we'll say it again. You need a little bit of luck to win an event like this. You need to not run into somebody's first 10 darter of their life. Right? You need to not run into somebody who's going to play the match of their life against you and then go in the next round and stink.
And go and throw a 70.
Right. You know what I mean? I mean, those are the things that kind of aggravate you if you're going to go play the Diddle Tour. And it was funny. I talked to a qualifier on Sunday who was saying, well, I have no chance in something like this. If it's best of 3, maybe I can get one, but I don't have a chance when it's, best of 9. And I was just thinking, I'm like, hey, pros miss doubles too. I told them, all you have to do is score and be in the ballpark and, be ready to hit it out when it comes up.
That thinking is why is the reason, like in league, I don't like 301 because that's the type of anything can happen, and it's just like
if it was a cricket best of 9, I might have agreed with him. Mm-hmm. I might have said like, look, if you average like a 3 mark in cricket and you're playing a guy like I don't know Leonard Gates who averages like 5. And you're playing best of 9, those averages are gonna, you're gonna have to really play good and hope he misses some. Well, no, if your average is a 3, that means sometimes it's a 2, sometimes it's a 4. If you can throw your 4 while he throws his 3.99, maybe you have a chance,
right.
But hey, everybody loses. Half the people lose in the first round, right? The best player is supposed to win.
Right.
If you're not the best player, then you should not expect to win. Right? You got a room full of people who think that they have a chance of winning. That's what makes it competition. That's what makes it fun. If you're not one of the top 20 players in the world, you get a free crack at them. So how is that not a good thing? I mean, win or lose.
Can only make you better.
Yeah. Well, and that was the other thing, and I've said this 25, 30 times. I mean, I look at dart tournaments and I look at events like this, like examinations. Where's your game today? Which is why, I don't want to go unprepared. And my game is exactly where I thought it would be. I couldn't score. I finished fine. And I'm like, well, the first thing to come back for me is going to be my finishing, and the last thing to come back is going to be the scoring. So I'm happy. I may experiment. My back feels good now. I'm thinking of going back to my old stance. We'll see.
We'll see what happens there.
We'll keep everybody updated on that. I know everybody's hanging on how I'm going to stand.
And they're probably hanging on what happened in Event 2.
Let's talk Event 2.
You got DJ Sayer and Gordon Dixon going off. DJ beats him 6-4.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I mean, if you look at the results that, because I think DJ won the 01 in Huntsville in February. I wonder, if he's starting to be like, hey, I think I passed you up, buddy.
Maybe.
Might
be.
I don't know.
He might be looking for a game.
I don't know. That's a weird one.
So he beats his buddy Gordon there.
Okay.
Darren Young loses to Dan Lobby the second. I thought it was
Paco.
Junior.
Apparently it's the second now.
But anyway, 6-2. Paco beats him 6-2.
Paco was on fire. Paco was lighting it up. The round before, he shelled John Part. So Paco was the only guy to beat Part all weekend.
Right.
It was 5-2, and John said he only had one chance, and it was a leg where he threw like 3 ton 40s and left 81. And it was like Paco was
just lost.
Like boom, 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 boom. And I'll tell you, he's been overseas playing with the, like the under 21, the Europe, the PDC youth thing. I wish I could throw as fast as this kid. But it was kind of funny. I remember I warmed up with him a couple of years ago. We were playing like 121, and then we started playing legs, and I was drilling him, and he's just like, let's go. Let's play another one. Let's play another one. Let's play another one. And I really liked his attitude, and now it's like shoes on the other foot. So he was dangerous.
Yeah.
He was dangerous on Sunday for a while there.
Then you got David Fadden winning 6-3 over Chris White.
Yeah, another like kind of buddy match. 2 guys that know each other really well. Kind of interesting. I would have thought I would have favored Chris White there. But, looks like Fathom got him. So, good weekend for David Fathom.
Good match in the last quarterfinals as Larry Butler beats Roger Carter 6-5.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised. I told Roger's buddies, he drove down with Gumby and a few other guys.
Roger's got a lot of stories, Carter.
Roger has a lot of stories. Don't call him Linda.
Right.
Well, it was funny because when I lost to him in the second round, and I didn't really play very well, but he was on a 9-darter.
Oh, nice.
When it didn't really matter. And then he threw ton 80, and then his first start was a fat 5, and I believe I said something pejorative to him. And then he threw another trip 20. And I was like, but for the most part, I didn't think he was playing all that well against me. And then in the next match, he played and didn't have to hit anything. So I was really wondering if he was going to be sharp enough to play Larry, who seemed to be kind of sailing along. So 6-5, tough match because I believe Larry beat Gumby a round or two earlier.
The round before.
And what was the score of that
5-4.
one? And that was 5-4 too. So, deciding
Gumby
legs.
had a couple final 16 matches, both 5-4.
Yeah, and I don't know. I believe he had a whack at a double and
against
missed
Butler?
it. Yeah, and missed
Ooh.
it. Or
It's too bad.
Yeah. So Gumby was close to really doing some serious damage.
Mm-hmm.
So Larry beat Roger 6-5.
So that leaves a final 4 matchup with Larry Butler beating Fathom 6-3.
Okay,
Not much of a problem there.
Pretty good pretty good weekend for Fathom. I mean 6-3. That's 2 breaks. Sometimes
Fathom makes
on
final
one.
4 in both events.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty good. And then the other one was.
And then DJ Sayer makes another final, beats Dan Lobby, the second 6-3.
I'm going to have to call Danny about that and see what happened there.
After he was playing so
He was
well.
playing so well, I wonder if he kind of hit a wall. And I don't know. It's kind of weird. So DJ lost both finals.
Danny Lobby didn't even have a close match, really. I mean, 6-2, 5-2. I mean, he was just
sailing along.
Just sailing
playing
along.
Great.
And then apparently it wasn't that close, 6-3. And so then you get your final of DJ Sayer and Larry Butler took care of business.
I don't see a score there, but
I don't either.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I guess it's sort of a Pyrrhic victory for DJ Sayer. He could say, I'm the first 2-time finalist on the CDC. You're also the first guy to lose both finals.
Right.
So it's better to be in the final than not be in the final, but it's also better to win. So I don't know how you take that. I guess you take the positive there.
Oh, it's definitely positive. I mean, you play 2 events and you make the final in both of them.
Got to figure that's a pretty good weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good money, too.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing. One of the organizers was asking me about the money, and I was like, well, when you get right down to it and you start playing, you don't think about the money, but, you kind of have to.
Mm-hmm.
So... it's a lucrative tournament.
You're thinking about the money. You're not thinking about the money in the final.
Yeah, I mean some guys split and everything, and you look at some matches like like Gordon and DJ or Chris White and Fathom. I mean sometimes guys decide to split for the weekend, and then it really stinks when you're playing each other. Mm-hmm. I had that happen once where I was tired, and we were playing in the semi of like the cricket singles or something, and he started throwing off, and I was like, well, so I started aiming for side door triples, and I threw actually a 9 count, and he looked at me, he's like, look, I'm really tired, and I'm like, well, one of us has to win the final, and he's like, well, you do it. And I'm like, really? Okay. So I think I did win the final, but it's still kind of like, when stuff like that goes on, you wish that it wouldn't, but because this is still evolving and it's still informal and there's
But you're
guys
talking
do have arrangements.
You're talking
like
about the money being good for this tournament, but this weekend. But it's also really about the points.
Well, yeah,
which is really what DJ Sayer's going to take away from this. He's made 2 finals. He's leading in points.
Yeah, he probably
against both guys, 2 guys that have both won a tournament.
Yeah, because he's definitely ahead of Larry because Larry was out in the first round on Saturday against a qualifier, so DJ's definitely got to be ahead of him.
And
unless
John Part was out a couple rounds.
Unless you get double points for winning.
I thought I saw a post on Facebook where DJ Sayer was first.
Okay, that's probably
Not by much,
it's
but a point or two,
probably the
but
way
still.
it should be, and then Part's going to be way up there because Part was did go a few rounds.
I think you were like 30th, which is good out of the top
30th
60.
out of 30. Oh, well, the top 32 qualify for Nashville,
Oh, okay.
so I'm right on the
you're
cut
right
line. Jeez, it's terrible. I'll play better. In
I would
Michigan.
think that would be the thing DJ would take out of this whole thing is
Well, he can lord it over. He could lord it over Gordon for at least 3 weeks or 2 weeks until you go to Yipsy. Hey man, I'm ranked higher than you. How about that?
and I beat you.
And I beat you. Yeah, the head-to-head thing is kind of like you look at. I mean, there were some people that kind of maximized their draws, is how I say it. And there were some people that got further than maybe they should have. Some of the qualifiers got in kind of when maybe they shouldn't have. I mean, I don't know. Some guys, it was sort of because of the way the numbers worked out for the qualifiers. The qualifiers had a great chance of getting into the final field, even if they didn't win a match. Which
Sayers 1, Parks
probably
2, Butler's 3.
Oh wow, we got a sharp chat room tonight. Sarah's 1, Parts 2. Who's 3?
Butler, Larry.
So then Fathom must be 4th.
He's got to be close.
2 semis.
Yeah.
So if Butler's 3rd, then he's got to have a lot.
Well,
it's a pretty top-heavy point thing.
Yeah.
Because he was 0 for. Oh well, but you get okay. Huh. Well, okay, we'll have to. We'll update this stuff next week, and we'll put it in the crawl where everybody can kind of keep track of everything. And I'll cut off the crawl right before my name comes up.
Apparently, Gumby couldn't hit double 20s.
Yeah, it's
What
what I told him was he just, to me, and because he's one of the people that I actually watch play fairly often, especially since we've played doubles together and stuff, so I see his matches. Just a little quick on the than normal for him. I don't know if he got a little bit of anxious or a little bit of adrenaline. Something's I got this. And just. Looked like a good stroke. I mean, there wasn't anything mechanically wrong with it. It just looked a little quick to me. And if he just takes a little extra beat, a little extra breath before that, he's going to hit it. So I have no worries. He was playing so good.
Rumor was a lobby through 412 darters against Darren.
Yeah, the kid was just absolutely, and I'll tell you, he's the fastest player in America. Paco. Danny Lobby II, fastest player. I mean,
Does his father throw fast?
No.
No,
his father throws like an American. Brings it down, over by his ear and stuff, past his eye. I mean, he just throws like an American. But Paco's like, really, really whipping him in there. It was kind of fun to see. He looks a little awkward to me. He's really lanky. I mean, and he's so young. He's only like, I don't know, 22 or something. I'm sure he'll fill out, a little bit. He looks gangly. You know what I mean? So, but it was good to see him. He's a nice guy. I like him. I told him that there was a couple of people, like Eric Gregory's from St. Louis. I'm like, dude, come to a Cardinal game with me, and then take me to a Cardinal game in St. Louis.
Right.
I'd do that. I told Paco, come to a Cub game, because I think I owe him one. I think I went. I got tickets to a Cincinnati game last year from him or something, or somebody they knew.
To that minor league ballpark they have in the Great American Minor League Ballpark.
Cincinnati's bad this year. Any updates?
I really
or is it still in between periods?
Still in between periods, I think.
We might wrap up the show
like
a little.
Cincinnati Stadium. It just looks like a minor league park. It's so
in a
tiny.
weird spot.
It's just so tiny.
It's kind of like the way Soldier Field is. It's stuck out,
but
kind of away from everything.
I had a blast when I was there. I thought it was really cool, but it just looks so small.
They had the Darts Live Stage 2 of the world in Singapore.
Are we going to skip over our third period? Do you want to take another break? And come
no,
back?
we're not going to have time to take another break. We'll just.
Do you want to talk about our sponsor one more time real quick?
Oh, well, you're listening to Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. As far as the Darts Live goes, there was a couple of 4 Americans went.
Right.
I heard there was another one on his way that got in an accident on the way to the airport.
Oh. Really?
Does that stink?
Yeah. That would be awful.
So apparently, he's physically he's okay. I think mentally I'd be like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad. So top 128, Chuck Pankow, Chuckles, and Eason Veljic.
Ooh, we haven't talked about him in a long time.
Well, as far as I know, he moved to Hong
moved
Kong,
over there, right.
so
No,
this was an
you told
easy
me that.
this was an easy commute for him.
Yeah.
I'm thinking 128 is probably disappointing. I don't know how much he's been playing, but it's good to see his name. Top 64, Soldier Gates. Got to feel like he'd be disappointed with that.
Right.
Top 8 was Shingo Enamata, Alex Reyes from Texas, Shintaro Inui, and Royden Lamb. That was the top 8 year.
Okay.
Top 4 was Sho Katsumi and Gunner, Lawrence Illigan. Runner-up was Park Hoon Chol.
Never heard of him.
And, really, you want to take a crack at his name? That is a new name. I don't know if maybe he's
Park Hoon Chol? I've never
you
heard
know
of
what?
him.
I think he's the guy that's Korean. I think he's Korean.
All right.
You could check that on the Darts Live website.
I've heard of Alejandro Reyes and
yeah, that's a
Royden
new
Lamb
name.
and
Park Hoon
Shoot.
Chol. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a new one. Maybe it's Chinese. I don't know. And then Adrian Gray won it. It was kind of funny. Adrian Gray, Mr. 158 out, jerk. Nice guy. He's kind of found a niche for himself with the soft tip. He kind of was an up and comer 5-6 years ago on the PDC tour. I believe he was cracking top 32, and I don't know what happened. He kind of isn't really there anymore, but he's almost dominating the soft tip, like him and the Creature. And I find it, kind of interesting. And he's talking about, putting, soft tip boards in London. And his idea was to, have them, instead of, dropping quarters, run them by the hour like you do a snooker table.
Oh, that would actually be kind of interesting.
I was kind of like, why not?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know how much you would charge, but I mean, what would you pay to run a soft tip machine for an hour?
Well, what's
free play?
What's a billiards table? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, I can't remember.
$10 an hour.
I was talking to somebody about it. And I was like, I remember in Oak Park there was a right off the L tracks on South Boulevard. There was a pool hall we used to go to when we were caddies, if it rained or something.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd rent like a 9-foot table, and we'd all chip in. I don't know if it was like $10 an hour.
Right.
But that was a long time ago.
Even if you charge $20 an hour and you had 4 people, you're talking $5 for an hour's worth of darts to.
Yeah, that's
play.
nothing.
That's nothing.
$5? Sure. Here you go.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you're pumping in
you
a
can't
buck
even get a beer for that
if
in
you're
some
pumping
places
in a buck
in the
50
city.
worth of quarters for one game, I mean.
Well, I don't know. How many quarters you spend a night playing soft tip, but. I would
but
think.
But even at $20 an hour, 2 guys, $10 an hour, and you could just sit there and hammer the board for an hour. I mean, how many games could you get in?
I don't know. I mean, the remote play I think is kind of on the slow side. There's a little extra weight while everything goes zipping around the wires and stuff like that. But I don't know. It sounded like an interesting idea.
Write down your own score.
I just don't think I can't see England
grasping that concept.
The idea of soft tip when you could play steel instead. I mean, let's see if that catches on. I mean, for somebody like Adrian though, who's kind of like I haven't talked to him. It looks to me like he's not really playing the PDC thing, but this is working out good for him. Why not
Maybe
stick with
he
it?
could sell it.
So what?
To people playing on a plastic tip.
Well, he's the guy that's supposed to be like setting up. The steel boards in London, and that was somebody was like, I'm getting this like second or third hand, but it sounded like an interesting idea. Renting them out by the hour. Mm-hmm. I was like, well, we'll see how that goes. I mean, it's still darts,
right?
I don't have much affinity to it. I don't dislike it, but I don't like it. So what is that? Ambivalence? I don't dislike it, but I don't like it either. I could take it or leave it, kind of thing. So what is that? That's ambivalent, right?
I believe so.
Okay,
That sounds correct to me.
Call me Mr. Ambivalent. Oh, that's
your new we'll have that.
Well, hey,
we'll have that
I better not.
There's
one nickname I better not hear in Michigan. That's all I got to say.
We'll have that stitched on your next shirt, Mr. Ambivalent.
The commercial where the guy's getting the razor blades and somebody blow darts him in the back of the neck. Yeah. Next time I hear a certain word, that's what's coming. That reminds me, I have to go buy one of those things. Are we done? Pretty much
for the most part.
All right, we're going to be
We're
back.
a little short.
Oh,
hold on, we got one other thing.
we got one other thing. Oh, shout-outs. Happy birthday.
We got some birthday wishes. Happy birthday to Maria Mason, Stephanie Mincy, and Keith Higginbottom.
Keith Higginbotham. Yeah, okay. Good dart players all. We like Maria.
I think they're all 29, I believe is what it said on the post.
Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what it said. It was funny. Anthony Eugenia put up, they have player profiles on the Champ Darts website, so they put one up for me. And Anthony Eugenia texted me and asked me how old I was. And I said, well, I've been telling everybody I've been 27 for a long time. Mm-hmm. I never got another answer back from him. And it's funny, so there's no age on it. So I don't think he believed.
So he didn't even guess.
Well, I don't think he believed 27.
No,
it would have been funny if he actually
guarantee
put that
he didn't
down.
believe 27.
Right. We'll be back. We'll be back next week. I'm going to effort David Fathom and get to the bottom of the sponsorship thing, because he had some interesting things to say about that, and I can't recount everything he said word for word. I'd rather he said it. So we'll get him on the show next week if he can make it, and then we're going to have. I had some interesting suggestions from some show listeners. You guys can always send those to darttalk@gmail.com. I don't know if we're going to incorporate one of them next week or not. We'll have to see how it goes. But anyway, safe travels to everyone. Go Hawks, and we'll Dart Talk to you next week. Everybody take care.